We're recording? Well,
We're recording.
in a rare and confusing situation, we are actually on time and on schedule today. I'm Ken Brenner. I'm gonna chair this September 10th Public Education Participation and Outreach Meeting. Sally is our PEPO liaison. In other words, that means she does all the work and I get to sit up here and talk. But the agenda that we prepared, that she's prepared, that I concurred with. And so we have the agenda. Why don't we scan down here real quick? Sally, why don't you narrate what you got? We have the basic consent agenda of financial and minutes. And then what do you have planned, Sally?
So for the minutes, we didn't have a PEPO meeting in July, so there are no minutes from July. We've got a quick financial update. The meat of this meeting will be updates of the story map from Four Corners, Anna and Lauren. And we're gonna talk about some of the projects. We'll talk about our next field trip with the HOC, newspaper articles. And for partner updates, we're gonna have a quick update from Michelle from Yambatika about their year-end numbers.
All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda or a motion to amend or add or delete. I'm thinking.
So we're gonna talk about the story map and we're gonna talk about the stuff that you sent Ken and I 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago for comment.
Yes, Anna will go through that. Yep, about the different projects to highlight. Yes,
Yes,
yep, that will be specific.
okay. Maybe instead of consenting, Sally, can you just walk us through the financials, exactly where we're at real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's get a motion to approve the agenda first. So moved.
Second,
Hinkmeyer, and a second from
Tim.
Tim Sullivan. From Tim. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed?
Sorry.
All right, great. Right, the financials, we don't have minutes, so here's a quick summary on our financials. Sally, how are we doing?
Quick financial summary is we're on track with all of our recorder support, all of our materials and outreach billing. If you did take out the canopy though, and you do want to get paid, submit me an invoice and I can tell you how to do that. But basically we're on track with everything and our biggest expenditure is the story map right now. So we're looking really for by November 1st is to spend the $79.49 for the story map development. And so we've already just got those invoices. So we've got since this has been made. So once we spend that, then we will go down and use some of our WSRF money right here to pay the other outstanding bills. So we're still on track. And what we'll talk about that today, but to finish either at very late this year, 2025 or early 2026. So we're on track with money and the invoicing and timeline for the story map. Does anyone have any questions about?
Thanks, Sally.
So when's the end of this grant? Well, this is a 3-year grant.
Yes, the PEPO grants every year and the WSRF will end in 2029.
Yeah, we have 25,000 annual and then we have that $100,000, well, $90,000 3-year.
Yeah, so 2029.
Yes, I believe so, is what it was extended to at this point.
Okay, again, we didn't spend all of the last one until well into this year, the first year.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. So we literally got 7 years out of the 2 grants.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve the financials as reported.
So moved.
Got the Hinkmeyer. Jim or Doug?
Second. It takes me a while to get off mute, so yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
We're the only committee members here, okay?
Third.
All right. Very good. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have approved financials. How would you like to handle the story map? We need a little bit of an update on where we're at for those that are newer to this discussion, and then tell us how we're going to proceed today.
Well, absolutely. Today we have Anna and Lauren from Four Corners Consulting, and they're
Welcome.
together the story map. Kristen Jesperson had a previous commitment, so she couldn't be with us today. But Anna is going to be walking us through, she's gonna demo the story map and talk about the purpose of it. But I was just going to pass around some of our fifth goals we want, if people need reminding, but just to kind of remind everybody that the story map's gonna focus on our fifth goals, and really also that the story map is supposed to be looked at and digested by the viewer in 15 minutes. So that's something I have to be reminded all the time, because we want to go really in depth into the story map. Yet it's going to be kind of something brief, but I'm going to stop sharing and let Anna maybe introduce yourself. Are you ready?
Hi, I'm Anna Reiling. I am the owner of Four Corners Mapping, and I'm working with Lauren Brown of LV Brown Studios on this story map, and I'm really happy that you invited us to this meeting. So I thought Sally and I kind of passed an agenda back and forth, and Sally, I just wanted to maybe start with the purpose of the story map, and then either move into that story map mock-up that I showed you the other day, or we can launch into the outline and a sort of a progress update. So
Yeah, why don't you do the purpose, and then let's do a demo of the story map so we can see kind of how far you've gotten.
okay. So the purpose of this story map is an educational tool to provide a high-level overview of the Yampa White Green Basin, its geographies, rivers, diversity of water users, where the water comes from, where it goes, how it moves through the system, and how it's managed. And that's our concise our concise elevator pitch for the story map, based on a lot of review that we've done of the resources that you all have shared with us and the conversations that we've had with many of you, including Sally and Kristen. So that said, every decision we make and every word we write is guided by the guidance documents that are outlined in that phase 1 story map report, including, of course, the BIP. So we cross-check our, what we're doing at any phase with the goals in the BIP. And then Sally mentioned that this is a 15-word, this will be a 15-word story map, 15-minute story map. And so we have a voluminous amount of information. We have a 80-page document of notes that we have taken from all the resources that we have collected throughout this this research and development phase. So, our goal here is to winnow down all of that information into something that's attractive and something that's informative and engaging, and that someone could get through in 15 minutes. So that said, 15 minutes reading, for 15 minutes, you'll cover about 5,000 words. So right in there is our goal. And with that in mind, we thought that a good test would be to create the first intro section of the story map in the story map platform. So that's what I want to share with you right now. And that is about 350 words. Okay, what am I sharing? this one. Okay. We can all see this?
Yes.
Okay.
That's-
So,
So it's
So
not
back-
one big beautiful bill then, it isn't?
I mean, we can try it. Um, just backing up, Lauren, did you have anything to add? I'd love for you to introduce yourself as well. You're a huge part of this effort.
Well, thanks. Yeah, you're doing great. I'm Lauren Brown. I've met a few of you at the Basin Rendezvous earlier in May. I've been helping out kind of behind the scenes here on trying to wrap our heads around this big story of the basin and kind of putting the puzzle pieces together in a outline for Anna to turn into a wonderfully compelling visual story map. So happy to be part of the team and learning all the different aspects of the basin.
Thanks, Lauren. So this story map uses a theme that I developed, and I've shared this theme with Kristen and Sally previously. And the theme it's based on the Yampa White Green Basin Roundtable logo. So same fonts and same colors as the website, so that there's some cohesion there and recognition when someone goes from here to your website, there's recognition and crossover. So our big catchy title, TBD, subtitle, TBD, we'll get there. And then it's organized into chapters, and these are not fleshed out. I've only done this intro section, like I said, to get a feel for flow and length of time it takes for someone to get through this. So it starts out at this point with this fun 3D zoomy kind of map that zooms in and focuses on the basin. And then when we talk about headwaters, it sort of comes over to the east side of the basin. I think this is very important for familiarizing people with the geography of this area that some people might not be familiar with. So we're talking about the arid canyonlands over here on the border with Utah. And then this fun snow layer that comes in when we talk about, whoop, oh, I'm asking too much of it. Snow layer when we talk about the abundance of snow in the winter feeds our rivers and springs or streams in the spring and summer. And then here we're going to start talking about just introduce the types of water users in the basin, from ranching and livestock and farming to towns and industries to non-consumptive uses, wildlife, ecology, and then recreation, of course, paddling and angling. And then we're just going to kind of summarize that with water being a vital resource that unites us all, managing the water supply is essential, et cetera, et cetera. And then we're right here in the intro, we're going to talk about the Yampa White Green Basin Roundtable, because this is your story map. And we want this to be right out there in front of people. And then a very brief intro to what is the roundtable, because I think a lot of people don't know, or maybe aren't clear, or don't know that there's 9 in the state. And then, we did insert that it's a volunteer members and who they represent in the basin. And then wrapping up
Hey,
the
Anna?
intro. Yes.
Good. Okay, we'll finish your presentation and then we can offer some ideas.
Sure. This is just a mock-up of the story map too. This is not the outline, but I do want to share the outline with you as well, which is another story map, because I like story maps. And then just wrapping up the intro with here's why you should care about water in your area. Here's what is being done, or read on to see what is being done, who is managing water, how the roundtable is involved in the management of water in the basin. And then we'll move on to the other sections. And this is part of the theme, this little It's actually a hydrograph. It's the average peak stream flow of the Yampa that I made into a little graphic for the separator for each section. So that's the mock-up. We hope that it's not going to take someone longer than, you know, a minute to go through that. And then move on to the next sections.
And that's what you
Can
have
you-
on the setup right now, right? So.
Sorry, what'd you
Just
say,
as,
Sal?
just as one tab, what is the Yampa White Green? And the others haven't been populated yet, so this is
No,
just to
so
kind of
it-
show what it looks
if
like,
you-
yeah.
If you click on those, it'll take you to the headings
Yeah.
of each one. Yep. Ken, did you have a question or want me to go back to a spot?
Well, when you, had your story map up there at the beginning of this, explanation, the map was a little hard to see and understand. And so what I wanted to suggest is that maybe there be maybe a couple of different overlays. And maybe you have this plan for somewhere else in the story map presentation. But we already have a really good map that we presented, that we prepared, and we've actually turned them into placemats. But it would be an overlay that you could put on here that would, so the rivers would jump out at you, the towns would jump out at you. It would give you a pretty keen sense of where you are, because when I look at this, and I'm kind of a map nerd, I'm struggling to see where things are, other than I know it's Northwest Colorado. So maybe that one overlay that really is just kind of the roads, cities, rivers with some names, just to talk about, to orient us before you get back to more of this style of map with the other, with the little dialogue boxes that come up.
Sure, that makes sense.
You know, the map he's referring to is on the homepage of the website.
But we could give you another one that would be for different jurisdictions, like the 3 counties that are involved. Another one that would be for the water conservancy districts. There's gosh, what is there? Probably 6 or 7.
Yeah, that'll be later in the other
It's
tabs.
later?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be
Yeah,
discussed later in our, people
Okay, good.
collaborate within our.
All right.
basin. Yeah.
This is just the intro, the high level. Here's where the
Okay.
basin is, but I agree with you that these features that are the most important can be more prominent. And then as far as talking in detail about the geography and the entities and the boundaries and locations, township or towns, municipalities, we're going to discuss the very next section is what is the basin, and we're going to go through all that in detail in the very next section.
Okay.
We can discuss that on this call in the outline when we review the outline.
Great.
So any other input or questions?
You said you're gonna discuss it on the call. When's the call?
Oh, right now, today.
We're
Oh.
sorry, I'm on a call. You guys are in person.
Okay, I'm easily confused.
So, you know, we'd like to talk a little bit about the progress that we've made on the story map. I do want to share the outline of the story map. So Sally, what do you think makes sense? Do you want to see the outline of the story map first? We'll go through that and then we'll go through our progress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
all right. So here's another story map, but this is more just used for displaying the outline. So we're going to start with our big catchy title and then our subtitle. That's going to be up here in the landing page. Again, all of the sections are organized by heading here, so you can click right to, if you're only concerned about non-consumptive use, you can click right to that one. So our working central theme is the basin has diverse water resources and water users, and many people are working together to manage and steward our most precious resource, and you can too. So our intro, I've already kind of gone over that, just a brief introduction to the story of the roundtable and the basin in general, and an invitation to learn and explore where water comes from, where it goes, how it's used. So we're planning on what, Lauren?
I was just gonna take it just one little step back and just caveat, we've organized this big story into like 7 chapters. We've reviewed this a few times with the committee. I've gotten approval on it. And basically it's organized into a basin overview, where our water comes from, hydrology, where it goes into consumptive uses, then non-consumptive uses. Then it talks about how water's managed. So looking at the different basin entities with the roundtable as the umbrella organization. Then there's a chapter that focuses on highlighting some success stories that cover the different geographies and themes and categories that have been discussed in the story map. And then finally concluding with some calls to action for what the audience member can do to get involved or stay engaged.
You have a slide with just those chapters on it? I know there's a longer narrative with the chapters, but just,
With just the chapter titles?
Yeah.
No, not yet, but.
It's right here. I probably should move this up to the beginning, but this is at the very end.
Yeah, and so that the chapters here that we've put together, this is the outline of kind of the loose outline that's been reviewed by folks. And Anna, you can go through those if you'd like.
so the where our water comes from, that's the one that explains the basic, how the state engineer's office oversees all administration of water rights. Here's where water rights are owned and used by different entities, and just sort of explains the legal background for how you get water.
We'll go into the breakout of how the sections are outlined in our next document. But yes, some
Okay.
of those are included in chapter 2.
Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we plan on employing some repeating story map elements again for the cohesion and drawing a reader in. So obviously we're going to be using media such as images, video, and audio, data visualizations, infographics, graphs, charts where we can, maps, of course, and then we plan on us adding some water voices, quotes from basin residents. We'll talk about challenges, just incorporate that into each section, and then what we're doing with the roundtable in particular is doing with their partners to combat those challenges. So our first chapter after the intro is the theme is the abundance of water, the diversity of landscapes, users and interests. It introduces the basin, orients the viewer to the geography and where they're located within the basin, provides a windshield tour of the basin's diverse landscape and water resources and users. It defines what makes the basin unique in the state. It draws them into the subject matter with the theme of our shared water, and that's using compelling imagery and perhaps interactive tools, and of course the narratives that will be on each slide. So this section will set the reader up for what they're about to learn in the story map, where the water comes from, where it goes, and how it's managed, and how people are working together on real projects and initiatives, and what they can do to get involved and engaged. That's a big ask, but throughout the story map, we'll get there. And then the transition is, in order to steward our most valuable resource, we need to understand where our water comes from, where it goes, and how it's managed. And then we'll move into chapter 2, where water comes from. The theme is our largest water supply reservoir is snowpack, and our water supply infrastructure is largely a surface water system. It'll cover it. Excuse me?
I'll just keep going.
Okay.
There's just someone talking.
It'll cover the unique hydrology of the basin, and it'll connect with the winter ski culture, and between winter snowstorms, awesome powder leading to snow melt and runoff, how water moves through the system. Basically following the journey of a snowflake, how water moves into the soil, into streams and rivers, stored in reservoirs for water supply, diversions and return flows. It'll discuss briefly how water supply is measured and monitored and the challenges to living with the natural hydrography, climate change, and managing water supply. And then our transition here is for how water is used. We're going to start with consumptive use for ag, industry, and municipalities. And then we'd move on to this section. The theme is water is used for consumption, from irrigating ranches to powering our communities to filling our drinking glasses. Snow melt water provides the lifeblood of farms, communities, and industries. The basin is largely, again, a surface water supply system, meaning that supply flows are largely stored, diverted, or pumped from the watershed surface waters and then return flow. Unlike other basins in the regions where water is pumped largely from groundwater. So we're going to want to identify the water users that fall under this umbrella in the various sectors, including ag, industry, and municipalities. And we can go
I
into
have a
this.
question. Did
Okay.
you consider doing a separate chapter for all 5 basic water uses? So there would be one for agriculture, one for municipal, one for industrial, one for recreation, and one for the environmental water uses. Because they're all 5 kind of equal footing, and it might be better to have, I know the one, they're non-consumptive versus consumptive, but I just was wondering if you had considered that.
I think we considered it, but breaking it down to these headings seemed to make sense to us after reviewing the phase 1 story map report, how that was structured. And then we thought that it might be useful for someone to be able to go right to their area of interest and the subject that they might be most interested in.
Well,
Right.
I can tell you that there's so much content in municipal and agriculture that those 2 alone are pretty beefy content.
Again, it comes down to that 15 minutes, and I always have to come back to it. We're supposed to get through the story map in 15 minutes, and they always have to remind me because we have so much content.
Right.
We just have to whittle it down somewhere. So it was just, I feel like easier to, clump a couple together than, 15 minutes goes by pretty fast, even if you have somebody's attention for that long. So I think that's kind of what we were thinking as this moved through. And it will have to be whittled down even more. So, yeah.
And I agree. I mean, I think it's easier because I even don't love the concept of the environment being a non-consumptive use. It's not a use, it's the environment. So I think not putting them in as uses like that, this breaks it up in a way that is good for thinking about the river, that we're balancing between the 2 sets. So I think this is clearer for a reader. I would, since I've got the floor, I would generally, when you think about a river, you lead with the natural environment, the river, and then go to how we're using it and how it supports us. So if it were me, I would put chapter 4 before chapter 3, but maybe it doesn't matter in the way people follow this.
There is a logical flow that we've thought through, a narrative arc, so to say. We can get further into that in the table of contents, but and as far as the using the word consumptive use and non-consumptive use, we had that in parentheses just for our own reference, but these headers will be more descriptive language. So those are just kind of placeholder chapter titles. We won't even have the chapter number or chapter in there, but for organization purpose, that's how we've been organizing all of our work behind the scenes, is by these chapter names and themes.
The thing that I like about using non-consumptive but consumptive though is because, as Tim points out, when you have recreation and environmental issues, the water stays in the river.
Mhm.
What When you have the others, they are diverted, utilized, and then some of that water gets back in the river, but generally not all. That's a pretty
Right.
big difference, and it's important basic concept to understand with water.
Yeah, and that concept it will be discussed, and we'll use the word consumptive in the text, but maybe not as the descriptive header that is on the menu bar.
Think of the headings as big catchy headings. But not necessarily chapter 1, chapter 2. These are just what we've put in here to keep ourselves organized and to reference the common name here in the chapter. So then from here, we'll go on to fish, wildlife, recreation, sense of place. The theme is that water supports these areas and contributes to the sense of place of the basin. Free-flowing, clean, and clear waters are also needed to support our basin's fish and wildlife, endangered species, recreation culture, scenic beauty, tourism, economy, and identity and sense of place. The section will cover protecting and managing for natural river flood pulses, paddling, angling, native and endangered fish species, and the basin's unique identity that draws new visitors and residents to the basin. And why it's important to consider and manage for these types of uses or needs of wildlife, recreation, and sense of place. And then from here, the transition will be how managing water for all the different users and interests in the basin involves a complex web of water managers and entities ranging from federal, state, and local governments to national and local nonprofit organizations. So here is where we're going to cover how water in the basin is managed. There are many caring, thoughtful people involved in managing water. It's complex, but mostly collaborative. And the round table serves as a bridge and regional voice advocating for the basin's water users, water rights, and water projects. An overview of the various entities that manage the water, starting with the Basin Roundtable is the umbrella or the bridge. And what's unique about this basin is that much of the management is community-based and locally informed. And make the point that water management is a complex web and balancing act. There are many nested and overlapping entities from state to local, each with different priorities and powers. Some have overlapping jurisdictions and competing interests. Discuss the roundtable's role in creating that regional voice and collaborative environment. And then a high-level overview of the various entities and their water role in the basin, including challenges of collaboration. And here we're going to have to really be targeted with what we cover because there's a lot to cover here. It's just something to keep in mind for this section is has the potential to balloon. So after this, hopefully someone walks away with a better idea of who manages the water. And then we'll look at some basin success stories that water managers are working on to safeguard water in the basin. So there are many projects and initiatives underway to protect water, and collaboration is key to successful water stewardship, and the roundtable projects are making a difference. That's what we want someone to walk away with in this section. So we want to illustrate the themes of the story map using case study examples. So everything that we've talked about so far, we're going to winnow down into a particular case study. And so these projects are going to be examples that are represented. They represent geographical distribution, different types of water resources and management, different sectors, issues, water users, and highlighting that sense of collaboration between the roundtable and its partners. So this was the list that we sent out with that survey, and we can talk about this in a little bit. This was an agenda item that we wanted to talk about. We got 3 responses from that survey, but we will share this list later in this meeting and perhaps talk about pulling out some key projects that we want to highlight here. Oh, sorry, did you want me to stay there?
You wanna keep it up there for a
Well,
second, Travis?
This was the list that you and I talked about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, a couple days ago.
So I gave a presentation at the IVCC of our 7 most relevant projects that the basin has done. So that's in a PowerPoint.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a second, once they go through this outline a little bit more in
Okay.
detail. This is kind of like their mock-up when they sent out the survey. These were what we voted on in that one survey. Well, the 3 of us.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So then our final chapter is sort of a your basin, your voice chapter. This is where we're going to wrap up the story map. We want a succinct narrative here about how you, the reader, can get involved in and where your place is in the big picture in the basin. And so how the roundtable is engaging the public in educational, informational, hands-on, interactive, and fun activities to encourage participation in the basin. And the bottom line is the Basin Roundtable can't function without local input. So here we have some questions. We haven't got here yet, but it's definitely something that we all want to think about as we develop this story map is, are there calls to action? What do you want someone, they've come this far through the story map, what do you want someone to do with this information, and how can they get involved if that's the goal? So these are just some, you know, elements, some options. You can have a button like learn more or visit the roundtable website or sign up for the calendar of events or whatever. So some potential calls to action, get involved and have fun, a newsletter sign up. We can embed the calendar from the website here right here in the story map. Participate in a field trip, send an email, and then so this app, this mention of the app is something we'll talk about later too. But at the end of the day, my experience has always been you want someone to be excited. They are interested in the content of the story map. They're interested enough to go somewhere else with that, to do something with that, all the information that they've just learned. So we just want to identify what those calls to action are. There's the overview.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I have a bit of a cold, so I might be losing my voice here, but I'll do my best. So this said, there has been loads of behind the scenes work to get us to where we are right now. And I think, Lauren, would you mind sharing sort of like our progress so far? And maybe we could do that. We can go over the table of contents too, either before or after. I just want to share with you all the work that we have been putting into this and the where we're at.
Sure. Yeah, this is a big story, right? You know, we kind of distilled it down into these main buckets or a storyline here. But you know, we've been sifting through a ton of resources that have been provided to fill in the talking points and facts and trying to figure out where figures are and who to talk to about certain content items. So some of the things that or resources that we've combed through include both volumes of the BIP. We've watched the full series of the Your Water Table series, which is really great, the videos, and have pulled quotes and images from that content to use in our Your Water Voices or the Water Voices section, where we want to highlight or hear from different basin users, because that makes the content relatable to our audience. We've also reviewed the slideshows from the State of the River 2025 presentations for the Upper and Lower Yampa and the White, and have pulled resources and materials from that. Notes from the Yampa Basin Rendezvous talks were also helpful. Yampatika's water lessons syllabus. The Yampa River Scorecard Project, we've looked through that as well. And just various other roundtable as well as watershed education, Colorado's reference materials for water law and just kind of water stats across the basin. I think you've also had an interview with Liz Chandler with the White. Is that the right person?
Yes.
Right. Anna's had that conversation with Liz to fill in some of the White information. I think where we might be missing a contact or maybe some information and projects is really on the green. So perhaps you guys know who we should speak to. And we've also sifted through Ken Patrice's vast compilation of photos and have identified some useful ones for the story. So a lot of these facts and figures have been compiled into a massive notes document, a master notes document organized by these chapters. And I can see if I can share that.
The Green River is T. Wright Dickinson.
Okay,
That's the person to talk to.
awesome.
He's an old rancher up there. He was a county commissioner for a long time. He's been on the IBCC. He's basically the Green River.
Okay. Good
He
to
and
know.
his family.
Can everybody see my screen with the table of contents?
Is there any way to make it larger?
Is that big enough?
You could go more.
There we go.
That's better.
Good. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to zoom out myself. Okay, so just wanted to go over this table of contents that organizes our notes. Essentially, we have an introduction, which Anna has kind of reviewed, that introduces people to the story map and what they're about to learn within to entice them to enter and learn more. Chapter 1 provides that big basin overview where we have the watershed tour. We want to provide some highlights of the different basins themselves. We'll have some stats, as well as what makes each basin unique between the Yampa, the White, and the Green. And then also kind of provide a little teaser to what's beyond, because a large part of water security in the basin is the Colorado River Compact. So we kind of allude to that topic. And then we really want to talk about what makes the basin unique and worth protecting. And that's also another input that we received from committee members. We had a 5-question survey, and one of those questions was this question about what makes a basin unique. So put that there. And the basin hydrology, Ken, this is where we go deeper into snowpack, starting in the headwaters, as snow being the basin's largest water reservoir. And then we're kind of following the snowflake in a way during spring runoff, talk about the spring runoff and hydrograph, monitoring and modeling and forecasting water supply as a topic. The basin's water cycle, this could be one of those breakout lessons. I know Yampatika was really interested in creating a visual water cycle that's specific to this region to use in their educational purposes for 5th graders and others.
Can I just chime in really quick?
Yes.
As she's talking about all the chapter topics, these are the things that we are going to be contributing to in big Word documents or Google documents, and so populating. So when she's going through all of these, think about where you can give value and talk some additional help to us.
Okay, well, then while we're there was definitely, to me, one of the key things in this overview of water is to talk about the fact that the state of Colorado, the Constitution says the waters belong to the citizens of the state. That if you can capture, control, divert, and put to beneficial use, that you have the right to have water appropriated to you. And you have a right to use that water as long as you keep records and put it to beneficial use. You don't waste it. And that's a real key concept. Oh, and that your right is based on prior appropriation, which you don't even have to say. It just means whoever got there first has more right to their water than the last person that got there. When there's a shortage, it really makes a difference that you have a water right that's older.
Mhm.
But and that the state engineer's office manages all that. They keep all those records. They're the ones that are out there controlling the river. Period.
Yes. Yes, Ken, we have that, we have all of that. But we're not
Okay,
there, but we're not there yet because we don't want to lose people too early, you know,
no,
with legal stuff, right? So we don't want people to glaze over like a donut yet. We're trying to like get them excited about this topic. And right now we're just trying to say, where's our water coming from, right? And then we get there, but wait for it. So we've got the rivers, we talk about Yampa, White, Green, the lakes and the reservoirs. So the water's in snow, it's entrained in snow, then it melts, then it moves into our rivers, then we're capturing it into our reservoirs and storage systems. We talk about a little bit about transbasin diversions because that was mentioned a few times by committee members. And then we want to talk about the challenges for the future, essentially climate change, how that's changing things in the basin, drought, wildfire, which I understand there was a recent wildfire there, population growth, water scarcity, and then what we're doing, what the roundtable is doing as far as the goals and projects. And some of those projects we can even talk about those here, and then they can be linked or clicked over to chapter 6. That's an organization thing. So that's chapter 2 is all about like where's our water coming from, kind of a little bit about how it's moving through the system, water supply and challenges. Chapter 3 is where we start getting into water rights and water law, but we first start by talking about, okay, so water's moving now. Now where's it going? Like it's being used, it's being, if there weren't people, it'd just be all going downstream, right? It would be making it out, you know, to Mexico, but it's not. So chapter 3 is all about people really using the water for agriculture, for our communities, for our industries. And we start off with the big one, you know, the most prominent one, agriculture. We talk about how it's, you know, interesting here is a surface supply, surface water supply infrastructure. We talk about flood irrigation, and we could go into more detail on that, not in this call, but you know, this is a topic. So the challenges with that. And then right away, right after like introducing agriculture, then we want to have that another breakout lesson like we had for the water cycle. This would be a breakout lesson on water rights and water law. And that's where we talk about all the things that you just mentioned, Ken. And we've already even written that chapter and I think have provided it to Jayla for Poppleton for review because we know it's so important. And those breakout lessons, they might look a little bit different within the chapters. So that's something visually we need to figure out. So we introduce that, and then we move back into the other consumptive uses, talking about industry here. It's mostly energy. You had the coal-fired power plants, which are being sunset, and you've got hydropower. And then I guess the, you know, the real elephant in the room is what's going to happen with the oil shale reserves. So that's like a future threat or security, water security issue. And then you have municipalities and how water is being a lot of surface water is being diverted for municipal supply, and we provide some case studies for that as well as challenges. And
many
then
people refer to oil shale as the energy of the future, and it always will be.
mhm.
In other words, there's like zero chance that it's ever gonna happen.
Oh, okay. So I mean, that might be like, see, that might be a an area where maybe we just kind of, it's just one sentence, right? And so as
Yes.
we're going through this list, just as Sally said, like we'd love for if this is a topic that's, you know, something that you're passionate about, like make a mental note of that because we want to be able to call upon different committee members that are interested, knowledgeable, and passionate about this subject to help us proof and vet and fact check our information. And yeah, just to double check that we're on the right path here.
Well, I'm glad
So-
you're covering the oil shale because they actually, the energy companies have a lot of water rights in hopes that someday a technology will be found that would make oil shale possibly an energy source that would be actually productive. So, economical. It's just, there's nothing about it that makes any financial sense given today's technology and the alternatives that we have available.
Well,
Doug?
we just pulled whatever text was related to those topics straight from the BIP. So if there's any updates to thinking about that since those plans were written, that would be good to know. And so we're gonna have draft narratives of each of these sections that we can
Okay.
send to folks to review. So that would be a good section to flag before we get too far into the narrative
We
development.
have another comment online, Doug.
So yeah, so I guess not to get in the weeds. In fact, I want to stay out of the weeds. Here is the fact that how much of our water in the Yampa White Green actually flows out of the region. I think it's like 88% of our water flows out of the region. So I think that, you know, we ought to not be apologizing for how much water we use. We ought to be celebrating how much water we provide to the Colorado system, and that we're actually allowing that water because we were one of the last basins to develop in Colorado and the whole state. So I think it's quite high. It's like 88% of the volume of water that's the precipitation and the snowfall and the rest that comes out of the Yampa White Green actually flows down to our friends, the Lake Powell. So yeah, so thank you. I just want to say that. Somewhere we need to get that in there in broad print, that we're not being abusive in our water use. Thank you.
Well, it's a significant difference from Northwest Colorado to the rest of the state.
Yeah. Great point. And yes, I do agree that we should underline, underscore, make that, a big theme here of the water responsibility and of this basin. And I think we have those stats in this, massive list of notes somewhere. But
Well, and another point that kind of goes hand in hand with that is just what a hydrograph for the Yampa looks like, where it's this giant mountain versus what most rivers look like are a flat line, where the water flow is controlled by reservoir storage, and it's all very contrived flows versus what we have, which is essentially a natural hydrograph. And the value of storage, we don't have a lot of storage, only about 100,000 acre feet, but it's utilized very well. It helps support agriculture. And of course, the flood irrigation is great for late season flows in the river. We just completed a study on the White River that shows that close to 80% of water diverted for flood irrigation in that particular drainage actually returns to the river within 2 to 3 months. And then the value of storage released. We saw two excellent graphs earlier tonight on our hydrology report for Colorado. And one is for the White River, which their only storage reservoir is Avery, and it's bone dry because of repairs. They didn't have any water to help with their fires, and they didn't have any water to support their late season flow. They are now experiencing in late season the lowest flows they've ever measured in 120 some years. Counter that, compare it to the Yampa Basin, which has two major reservoirs that both release substantial amounts of water, and the hydrograph is not that far below an average level. So it's an important point. It's not too wonky, and it really differentiates us.
Yes, I think that would be wonderful to compare the hydrograph of the Yampa versus another river in our,
The green, just use
how,
the green. The green's
yes,
completely consumed by Flaming Gorge, and it's just a flat line. Occasionally
great.
it bumps up or it drops down a little, but it's a flat line.
Yeah, I think actually it would be good to do the Yampa green and white to compare.
Yeah,
And we
good
can use
point.
those perhaps when we're talking, here about the rivers. Because we introduced the natural hydrograph and then we talk about the rivers. And I think that was a visual that we were earmarking for these sections. But great
Great.
point. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about, yeah, people using water, and we wanted to hear some water voices, maybe from somebody managing municipal water supply, maybe somebody from the ski resort,
Oh,
the power industry.
Frank Alphone is the general manager for the uh, Mount Warner Water and Sand District that supplies all the water for the Steamboat Springs municipal area.
Yeah, we've got great quotes from him from Your Water Table series. All right, so then that really transitions us to chapter 4, which is, fish have water rights too, and so do recreational users. In the state of Colorado, that's kind of, that's not true everywhere. But so then we talk about the other uses of water for fish, our wildlife. Primarily we're talking about riparian habitat there, natural flooding, etc. Recreation and tourism, the kind of the identity, lifestyle, sense of place, and then the challenges. And we start talking about starting in the channel with aquatic habitat, talking about fish and in-stream flow rights, the cold water fisheries, and then endangered fish, which are the warm water fisheries, challenges and basin projects. So yeah, this section is going to have lots of wonderful photographs and really connect people with why these water resources are so important and make the basin unique in its identity and its as an attractive place to live and leave and return to, right? So that also instills why it's so important for us to manage the water responsibly. And that moves us into that chapter 5, how our water is managed and all the many people that are dedicated to managing our water collaboratively. We go back into a little bit more detail on the round table. And then we've broken up the organization into different levels. How did we do this? So we've got water conservation districts, we have local level. Where did my, okay.
You're missing pot book and you're missing,
Oh, potluck's there. Yellow
oh, it
jacket,
is, I
potluck.
see. And do we have the Great Northern?
In water conservation districts?
Yeah, I think they just reformed and they're around Fortification Creek. That's here in Craig.
Great Northern. Yeah. Oh, no, we don't.
Representative in the round table, so.
Yes, and this is also where we've been asking for help from the committee to fill in the blanks. So I think we sent this in the last survey and we'd love some more help filling in the blanks to make sure that we're not missing anybody and to get some contact.
It's just, I don't think it's listed as a heading, Lauren, but we've got it in there and under water conservation districts.
Oh, Great Northern.
Yeah, yep, and Juniper Water Conservancy District.
Okay. Well, maybe it's not in this updated list or this version. Maybe it's not in this version. But
No,
yeah,
it's the
Well,
same. I think it's just a formatting thing. Yeah,
those
we've got
districts
it.
are, because that might be more meaningful than a list of names.
okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not just going to be a list of names, but we were trying to wrap our heads around how to organize all these people.
Put it on that, the same map that you started the whole thing with, that map right there with, just put overlays for each of their boundaries. They have very specific statutory boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because some of
yes.
them are taxing distance.
right.
So Lauren's going through this as the outline, and built into all of these topics will be the graphics and the visuals that we'll use to convey the points that are listed here as bullet points.
Thank you.
And I think as we were thinking about this, was in story map, you could kind of have like a sidecar. It's called a sidecar display, and you have one map, and a little bit like a slideshow. You kind of stay on the same page, and then you can kind of scroll through. So if the header is water conservation districts, we can have the outline for the Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District pop up as we scroll through and talk about that entity, like one sentence about them. Same for, the 5, 6, 7 others under there. And then we can move on to local level. So we've thought about a visual way to display this, but without it becoming too local level, municipal, county, and industrial. So that would be our cities and towns, our special water districts, and our counties. Then we have federal level government entities, the BLM, United States Forest Service, NRCS, and the US Fish and Wildlife Service. Maybe talking, like providing a little bit of detail about what are they doing as far as water here. So maybe something specific, relatable, tangible. And then the state of Colorado, obviously very important with the Colorado Division of Water Resources and the Office of the State Engineer, Colorado Water Conservation Board, and the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And then like the Colorado River District seems to be its own kind of animal. It's regional government. And then we talk about environmental nonprofits and NGOs, which there are many, and that might be displayed, I don't know, maybe with their logos or on an app that Anna's been developing. But this is kind of we want to make sure that we've got everybody on our list covered, and then we can start developing those graphics and the story map display. And then that takes us to those success stories. So again, here we were really trying to focus on stories that were representative of the basin geographically. So we wanted to make sure we had all corners of the basin covered, as well as talking about the different themes and categories that we've been talking about in the story map to make kind of tie it all together, as well as that are good representation of multiple entity collaboration. And so from our research and learning about some of the different projects, and there's probably some we don't even know about, but it'd be great to get your opinions. I've organized it into Yampa Watershed Project possibilities like the scorecard and the stewardship program, soil moisture observations, which are important for water supply management and forecasting, the Fish Creek Wildlife Protection Plan, which talks about wildfire protection and water redundancy, Stagecoach Reservoir and Steamboat Spring Smart Irrigation Central Control System. We have another spreadsheet that kind of talks about the different themes that these all cover. Elk River is kind of another maybe river project area to discuss, like the Elk Head Reservoir enlargement and the Lower Elk Head Creek Restoration Project. And then, of course, agricultural infrastructure modernization projects are kind of across the basin, but really important to talk about. And maybe we don't talk about each little one, but generally the categorization of projects. And maybe we show a map of where those are happening. I don't know if we have that data, but I think that's a really big subject. And we could focus on the Maybell Diversion Modernization Project as a case study there. And then as far as White River projects, we're looking at water quality with the White River benthic algae study, the Meeker River Park, which is more about recreation, White Basin storage projects, so water supply and storage, as you were mentioning, the Kenny Reservoir and Taylor Draw Dam, I think, are part of that. Green Basin projects. big?
Well, the White River is Avery is their main useful water storage. Kinney Reservoir is pretty much 100% silted in.
Okay. Yes, and I think for White Basin, that is the project I've identified within this section is Avery. Okay.
For the week, we want to talk about, the return flow study, I think.
Yes.
Is kind of what we wanted, I think is one of those, 6 topics hinted to the IVCC and presented. So that was a big one for the, do you want anything else?
Well,
The
it's
White
about
River.
20,000 acres that are flood irrigated around the Meeker area on the White River. And there's probably about 35 different ranching operations. So it's a big,
So, but Lake Avery and the White Return Flow Study would be the 2 White
Yeah,
River
the two.
topics,
yep, I agree.
I think.
They also have that big, the 2-ditch.
3 ditches.
Yeah, those.
And we're also gonna have a presentation later on and an update, tonight about some of the ditches that's going on in the White River, so I will send that to you later on. The presentation, yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so there's basically 3 White River projects. That might be really good. We were discussing. Green Basin projects, do you guys? Anything in the Green Basin? Green River?
They do some projects, but they're pretty small in nature.
Yeah.
They're just limited because, well, Bureau of Rec controls Flaming Gorge and they don't, none of the individual landowners have any say on it.
Okay,
Yeah, they control some tributary water and that's a pretty arid area up there and it's very sparsely populated.
did you see any projects on there that you thought, heck no, don't wanna, advertise that? Did you guys see any, Ken and Steve, did you see any projects on there that you don't want talked about?
But is this a final project list?
No, we've been sending this out, so this is kind of the time when, before we wanna populate it, so probably,
Well, we want to make sure that we put those 7 that you and I discussed.
yeah. But, do we wanna talk about the Fish Creek Wildfire Protection Plan? Should we curate this more after this?
Well, there's 3 wildfire ready action plans and.
Do we want to even go there?
Well, Fish Creek, we could mention that they're there, that this is a big deal coming out of the Colorado Water Conservation Board. Is to provide state support for a planning process to make sure that you're prepared for wildfire. And so it's called a WRAP, a Wildfire Ready Action Plan. They give you money. There's 3 of them going on right now. There's one for Fish Creek, the furthest along. The second one is with the Upper Yampa, and that includes the Yamcolo up in the flat tops. And then the third one is the headwaters of the Colorado. That's a 2 million acre forest health project. About 1 million of that is in Colorado. It's all within this boundary.
Mhm. And just so you know, not all of the projects in this list need to become a case study in this section, but like
They
that
don't
wrap,
need to be-
then
I don't think they need to be a case study other than just a really like a 1 or 2 sentence narrative, but just mention that there is planning efforts going on.
yeah. And I think that those kind of 1 to 2 sentence summaries can even be in those sections, like when we talked about wildfire in chapter 2, we can mention, we have, in some of those chapters, we have basin projects and initiatives. And so that would be a perfect example of where to summarize or add that information into that chapter. Here, we really do want to create maybe 5, we were thinking of 5 different case study projects that show the diversity of the basin's geography, themes, and like water users, themes, and collaboration. So this was our short list of the ones that we felt represented that. And I think you've mentioned others, let's add those to the list and just see how those fit in. And what's compelling, right, to the audience member. So some of it too is going to be what do we have some compelling images or what's a compelling storyline for them. And lastly, I don't think we talked about this one yet after the Green Basin projects, is the Big River Committee. And this is, we want to talk about why we wanted to talk about the Big River Committee here is so that we could introduce the Colorado River Compact as another breakout lesson, and why the Big River Committee is so important in advocating for basin interests. You know, advocating for basin interests, because that's a big topic. So kind of ending with that big topic. And yeah, so kind of zoom in and then we zoom back out, and then we go into our final chapter on the stewardship and calls to action. So I don't know, how are we doing on time? That was a lot of information. 6:12.
We're 10 minutes over, and we can wrap it up here fairly quick.
Well, we have time, we go till 5:30.
5:30.
So, and Michelle's got some updates, I've got a couple updates, but I think we're doing pretty good if we just wrap it up.
Maybe by 20 after be done. Cause then we have dinner being served for the round table.
Is there a way to work in, you know, Sally, the map that we have? That Patrick got us, that, you know, that shows that like the rivers in proportionate sizes.
Yes, I'll show them that map, yep, the one that
Those
Puff
two.
made,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I mean, we really wanna talk about
The place
the
maps.
What Creek stuff,
yeah,
but
like start
that
out
be
with those
aware of how
layers,
much,
yeah.
of how much water's shipping out of Colorado.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, but the comment Doug made,
the arrow map?
the
Yes.
arrow map,
Okay.
Yes.
the place map.
Okay, yes, I'll show that, yeah. Yeah, there's
Those are the perfect kind of resources, because if we can not recreate something that already exists, that would definitely be much more efficient.
You wanna
Just-
use this, what's been presented, I think it was done by the Colorado River District.
I know
Doug
exactly
Lumber-
what you're talking about. Yeah, with the big arrows that funnel
Yes.
down, yeah, out of the state. I think that's in the
Doug-
Colorado Water Plan, maybe.
So I just have a couple quick comments. I think your project looks great. I just want to make sure that there's a lot of information there, and you can get mired down in the simplicity of it all. And I just want to make sure that we're following what I said earlier, that we just need to make sure that we're emphasizing how much water we're not using in this basin and how much is flowing to the rest of the world. And so I just think that it's really important to make sure that we emphasize that somehow. So anyhow, thank you.
Yeah. And Doug, I think that's something we can totally emphasize in that last section about the Big River Committee and the Colorado River Compact, because there is so much responsibility and stewardship in sending that water downstream. So that's a great way to kind of wrap up, like to start, to introduce and conclude the story with the abundance of water here and the great management of water in a way, and like how the basin users are really providing a great input of water downstream.
Well, part of your intro narrative could include just the stating that historically, Northwest Colorado has been arguably about as wet as any place in the state of Colorado. And yet here in the last few 5-10 years, we've been pretty darn dry.
Happens in that little climate change, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's ominous. And plus, no place in the state has seen a greater increase in their average daily temperature. I think we're getting close to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. They figure, I think it's between 5 and 9% decrease in stream flow for every 1 degree Celsius. So we're seeing some significant impacts from this extended drought / climate change, whatever you want to call it.
And I'd love to convey that with imagery, with a graph showing precipitation change, or even a map using the drought severity index.
All that's
data.
already
There's
done.
so many resources there.
We just have to help you find it.
Yeah,
Oh,
we used to have the asbestos forest, and we don't have that anymore either. So yeah.
Hey Sally, when they were talking about that federal, there was a section where they were talking about like the Forest Service and the BLM and whatever.
Yep.
Those weren't water, holders, those were land managers.
Correct, yep,
Okay, we didn't show Dinosaur National Monument
okay.
as being one of those, and
That's a good one.
and I was reading somewhere in the stuff you sent me that we were short on like Green River and information and whatever, but most of the Green River runs through Dinosaur National Monument. So they might be a good place, and
Yeah,
I could get the contact for the guy that attends our land use board meetings from the monument
okay,
and see if we could get some high quality pictures if they're needed.
and Michelle's got a contact, she's gonna set me up with two contacts, so
Okay.
2 contacts coming from the Green River
Okay,
to Anna and Lauren. Any other questions? Thank you so much, that was amazing walkthrough of the story map, they've done a ton of work. Again, it's an 80-page document that Lauren just kind of walked us through, and all that needs to be fleshed out, so it's not just their words, it's ours. So we will be reaching out to everybody and saying, the parts you're passionate about, please review and add your comments to. They're gonna be working documents, so it's gonna be a bit clumsy, but we'll get through it, just like you guys did for the videos, so.
so the stuff that you sent Canada, those, is that like for the meeting, the next meeting that Kirsten's gonna?
The things that I asked you for were for input for this outline. So
Okay.
we're still working on it, but my point is. They're going full stop right now, so now's the time, if you have things that you saw that you don't want on there, or things, we have wrote down your new ideas, but basically this is the general outline and how we're gonna be going forward.
Well, I think our biggest challenge is the list looks fairly complete. I mean, I'm sure we'll think of a few more things, but the challenge will be in paring it down, like how
100%.
much
The
content.
challenge, I
Very
would say, just from my experience
Yeah.
with building a story map. I mean, I built a story map that was specifically, designed for the visitor center at Stagecoach. And I thought that it was short enough. Once we got it displayed in the visitor center, we realized like no one is going to stand there and look at that long. We cut 2 full chapters out of the 5-chapter story map that we built within the first 2 months of it being available at the visitor center. It is, I can't express enough to everyone how imperative it is to pare down. So when you're looking at this list and thinking like, maybe we need to add this in, like you're gonna cut so much stuff out of there because people cannot. I mean, when you think of the attention span of people these days, it's
Right.
30 seconds. We're looking at 30-second clips, like 15-second clips. And it's something that I'm really struggling with in my role right now of like messaging and figuring out how to pare things down in digestible amounts. Because we all know this and we live it and we breathe it and we tell it every day. But other people do not have the attention span to absorb that, and we've gotta like really cut it down so that people are interested.
I agree, and so I'm wondering with the general outline, are we talking more about having a really short version with a large appendix that includes all this information that we've discussed, but having something that's even shorter than 15,000 words that somebody might spend 5 minutes and scan through it? And then if you
Well-
found something that you were really interested in, there would be a link that you could do further investigation. But for a general, just somebody's gonna review it, that they could get that done in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, we had planned on having a resources section. A lot of times I don't like to include a link, an in-text link because it can take someone out of the story map, never to return kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we do want to provide links to resources for people to explore on their own what isn't covered in detail in this story map. So if we're talking about the Mayville Ditch project, we can say, visit the resources section for more information and then provide a link to it from there. And then I always have a references section, which is, I don't know how often they get read, but it's, I always appreciate having a references and perhaps a glossary section. So if someone really wants to do a deep dive, they can go and find the ResearchGate paper on the White River, return flow study or what have you. And then the great thing about story maps is that that's why I introduced that idea of clicking to a heading, that the heading that you're most interested in. Maybe you only have 2 minutes and you really want to know what projects are being worked on in your area, or maybe you just want to know what does consumptive use mean, or whatever. You can go right to those headings. And also story maps and this whole platform it provides a tool so that someone doesn't have to read a bunch of text. They can actually see, like you were saying, Ken, instead of laundry listing, water conservation districts and all of the entities working in the basin, we can do really fun map overlays that on scroll, you see different overlays for, these are the counties, these are the sanitation districts, so it conveys the same information in a fraction of the time.
Good. Well, you certainly get your work cut out for you.
I feel like we've created this, we've got it organized, we've got this big block of stone in a way that we can start sculpting something really chiseled and beautiful out of. And so our next step is taking each of those sections and turning it into a narrative that Anna can start popping into the story map with visuals and check the flow. But yes, I think, was that Holly over there? I can't tell who's around the table exactly, but yes, making it succinct and compelling is a big challenge, and getting these 80 pages, which has a lot of redundancies in it with the notes, into a very succinct, readable format is a challenge, and I think we can do
Who's
it.
your primary audience? Are we talking K through 16?
No, we're talking up up through 5th grade and higher. So kids, adults, everybody really. So it's going to be used by Yampitica and everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say, probably our primary user will be Yampitica.
Yes.
Yeah,
We've
we
set
do
good
need to
grade.
wrap this up. If you have any more comments or anything like that.
No, I'll go through that outline again and see if I have any other comments.
Sounds good. We'll send it out. But kind of amazing work that they've done. Just to show you how far along it is.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks,
if
Sally.
you Send us the latest version after today's discussion, then we can respond to that.
Okay.
Yep, we'll send something out after the meeting, for sure. And also think about a big catchy title. Let's have that be homework.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Thank you. So that was the story map. A lot of work. So a lot of work coming up. So they've done a lot of this. Now we have to do some of the population. But thank you for that reminder. Very much.
Yeah, I
Holly.
mean, it really is like such a challenge. I think something I started with, like, I wanna build out like a full online version that includes a lot more information. But
Look at that,
I just like really
Yeah.
struggling. It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Field trip, I have the wrong date for the HOC field trip. It's the 17th, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
September 17th. I write that down later.
From today,
Yeah, a week from today.
9 AM. Day
All right,
apart.
and we will send out a registration email or Matt, or
Ask
how do you
Matt,
wanna?
ask Matt, and because we probably, if it's all right with you, that we'll just give you, Matt will send the round table a summary and an invite, and then we would forward it to our membership. Would that be okay with the
Yeah, Dark, are you thinking of like what we do with our tour, Sally, where you?
I'm not part of the tour, I would just advertise the tour.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
am
no,
going though, however, but just to let the roundtable members know about the registration. So,
Yeah, because we are
I'll send
supplying
out an
a
email.
nice lunch, and so we do want to know, that.
I mean, yeah,
looking at the 550 road, culvert replacement and a couple projects of the good
Three
neighbor
different,
authority.
yeah, forest projects.
That's in Boat Lake.
Very different content.
I have a question for you about the minutes. Did you, we never approved the May meeting minutes.
Oh, we didn't. I did have the name in it.
Okay. Well, that's because we didn't have a meeting in July, I'm thinking, gosh, we probably didn't approve.
guess-
And we didn't have a July minutes to approve,
I guess
we
we
do
did.
still have payments.
Yeah,
Well, why don't we do that at, the November meeting?
Okay.
We both May and.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be,
no, I
that
don't
would be
consider rushing
fantastic.
to see those.
I could add them, but that would be.
And we're down to 3 minutes here before we're supposed to.
We do have a couple minutes, about, I just wanted to go over, well, Steve wrote a newspaper article,
Hey,
about the White River area. And that went to the Meeker Press and Craig Daily Press and Steamboat. And next up, Michelle's gonna write about Yamatica's, numbers and their successes from the past year. And, upcoming events, again, the field trip, Yamatica's Fall Festival coming up, what, couple weekends from that. I'll bring Yampa Youth Festival, October 1st, and then again, the C9 Summit. And if you want to participate in the C9 Summit, contact me. And as far as partner updates, I'll say a couple things, after, Michelle about the Y Basin update, but, Yamatika has an update about some of their numbers, so.
Let's see, for new grant cycle, new energy, as Antigua is kicking off the first quarter of our two-year grant cycle. We are small but not mighty and continuing to grow with each partner, teacher, and student interaction. Highlights so far include working and interacting with 293 biology students, to take water quality samples at the Fifth Street Bridge, flow gauge, discussing limiting factors. With that, calculating stream flow actually in the river. And having speakers come and actually talk about river closures. Using those hydrographs, just like some very support that we're providing there. They've also been out, we're kind of partnering with the Mustang Refuge out in the cities and it's out that way to talk about species interactions and ecosystem cascades. New partners with MSDS, OD, TNC, CPW, BLM, and many others. Getting just students connected to community members and these professionals and experiences. For instance, we are actually bringing in Madeline Baker, that's with CPW, she's going to get our last round table in July. To talk about species interactions with high school kids. Also utilizing wildfire mitigation to really reach the community regarding just current events that are happening as far as the fires go. And developing some really relevant lessons as far as that, just to pertain information. Most recently with the White River kind of article that they have up at River about it being full of action. That river. So really trying to just get out there with some community events right now to really help educate people with the fire situations. Of course, as I mentioned, Water Fest coming up. Other community events. Let's see, looking ahead. I actually will be participating in the river science hydrology training. It was exciting. It's taken some time for me to actually get to, so that's kind of For the start application program. And with that, kind of focusing more on like some citizen science work in the community, partnering with some see more of the post-secondary kids out. With some field work. So that's been really exciting. I don't have past numbers.
That's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
No, that's okay. So, no, I wasn't sure what your update was. So,
I can get those in. I think we're close to 50% once again.
yeah, that's what your next article will be. That will, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I had to it just a positive successful.
Yeah. And we didn't have any other community updates. I will say that, for our wide basin soil moisture network stations, we are putting one in at CNC in Steamboat. And we're looking to put that in October 2nd, right after the Youth Water Festival, so 2nd through the 5th, and we're gonna kind of make a big deal out of it and have a ribbon cutting, so save the date, somewhere around the beginning of,
The ribbon cutting, I believe, is now scheduled for October 6th.
it happened today,
In the
so,
morning,
yeah.
that's my understanding. I was told to put a hold on my calendar for 10 a.m. on October 6th.
That all happened today, so while
Perfect.
you're
Yes.
driving,
Yes,
for a
it did.
ribbon cutting for our wide basin new soil moisture station at CNC. It's gonna be a pretty big deal.
Really?
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about it. It'll be right in town. We'll have really easy access to show anyone and all people, and roundtable all invited. So I'll send more information. But that's all I have as far as updates. Anybody have any agenda topics for next meeting?
Follow up on C9. There is a PEPO meeting at C9. It's on the second day. And it's one of the statewide meetings. Remember, you don't have to be a roundtable member to attend. Sure, Steve will give deference to, getting reimbursed or paying for your expenses to people who are members, but we didn't fill our 10 paid spots last year.
Yes.
So we want to do that. And people from Yampatika that do all this really important outreach, it's fine for you to be there, it's
Yeah, 51 last year.
meant to be inclusive. So that's 28, 29 October. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
And you said the second day was more,
Say again,
did you say the second day was more?
first day is the actual C9 conference, second day are these statewide meetings of like IBCC and PEPO, and I'm not sure what else will be there, but those two are definitely calendared. And you haven't met Elizabeth Schroeder yet, have you? Okay, so yeah, she's a contact. Very good. Well, do we have
That's all we
anything else?
have on the agenda today.
Pardon?
That's all we have on the agenda today.
All right, well then let's, unless there's anything else that we need to cover, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Yeah. We're coming up Tuesday. Awesome,
Gonna shut the meeting down?
doing it right now.
Oh, so I need to leave.